Even in good seasons of Power Rangers, there will always be some characters that screw up, some being really bad. This video will focus on more villains. I'm omitting a few. I've talked about Zanaku and Wild Force. I don't want to repeat myself. I'll also be skipping Jared. I want to save him for something in the future. Looking through 20 years, there's a lot of these characters just got trashed. Either they start out interesting thanks to Japanese footage, but evolve into idiots when the show writers had nothing else for them to contribute. They also fall into this common problem. Take a mainly serious Sentai character, inject comedy, go too far, causing a rift between US and Japan. Ripcon is one of the newest examples of this. I'm always saying to myself, if you can't get them to work, kill them off or give them a simple ending. Just get them out. Get rid of the character or use them. Having them in between is not a good idea. Thank you, Disney Fireheart, for the topic. If you have an idea or a suggestion on something you'd like me to cover, leave a comment below. I might pick it one day. Gluto. There's a lot of things to talk about in Time Force, but no one brings up this guy. Gluto was a mistake right from the beginning. In a previous video I mentioned Gluto in Time Ranger was the main boss of the season. He acted like a mobster, but he mainly worked behind the scenes. So you didn't get all that much. Even in Time Ranger, you kind of forget about him. You gravitate to Guillaume more. It would have been easier to just remove him or have him as a stock monster that they could clone or something else. But I want to get him into Time Force. We had the story between Rancic and Frax. We know Frax hates organics, especially when Rancic shoots Cyclobots for doing dumb mistakes, and Frax was brainwashed in the end of the season. What I came up with was have Gluto secretly work for Frax, where he was the one who maintained things like the X-Vault, while Frax was helping Rancic. I know Gluto's a bumbling idiot, so I would have had Frax mind control him. Normally Gluto is dumb, that would be the facade. When Frax needed him to be smart, cunning, or devious, he'd switch him into the semi-robotic mode. This way, you could use more of the Time Ranger footage without having that disconnect between PR and Sentai. At the same time, it's where Rancic got the idea of brainwashing Frax for the end. Each one is trying to one-up each other. Gluto would still refreeze himself like the show did, but he'd be used as a pawn between both sides. He's there, you can give him a one-off two-parter like when Frax stole Rancic's medicine. Gluto could have been the one who kept spying on him till he got exposed, where Rancic used him as a double agent, leading up to the brainwashing.
Rita Revolto.
The brother of Rita. His purpose in the show was fine for what they did with Season 3. They had characters from Kaku Ranger, needed to use them, it opened up Rita's backstory, but when we went into Zeo, Rita went downhill along with his partner in crime, Goldar. These two guys are like brothers. My ideas for Rito and Goldar are going to be connected together. Rito's problem is not the comedy part. Yes, he's dumb, but he's not Elgar dumb. That's a league in its own. He was scary and smart in the early episodes, so instead of keeping Rito around through Zeo as a servant slash pet for Bulk and Skull, I still don't understand why they did that. I had this idea where Rito and Goldar got fed up being the punching bags, right down to the two humans. There would have been some special weapon or device made from the Machine Empire, which Rito stole, and Goldar got Finster to do something with.
Goldar.
This character was great in the first season of MMPR. Yeah, he screwed up, but when he got plans to work or when he took control of the situation, oh, he was a threat. He was the one who got the Rangers power coins, got Jason trapped, used the Dragon Dagger, fought the Rangers in the original Season 1 finale. But then he goes down the drain, more and more being used as a punching bag by Zedd, eventually being thrown away as a pet for Bulk and Skull. I want to give these two characters a proper final hurrah, where they can work together and pull something off. The device taken allows Rito and Goldar to fuse together the best traits of each character into one. So they would have the drive of killing from Rito, the cunning nature of Goldar, the magical elements of Rito, Goldar's wings, and his lust against the Rangers, specifically Tommy and Jason. This is who they would have fought in The King for a Day. Not only does this work for their revenge on the Rangers, but also explains why Bulk and Skull were taken as well. All the ideas were from Goldar's side, the brainwashing, the torment on the team. It led up to this final fight, as well as being broadcast to Rita and Zedd so that the two of them could show they can enact a better plan. I'd even have the brainwashed Tommy be switched off so Gold Rito could show his superiority over Prince Gasket. Of course, the Rangers end him, giving closure to these characters instead of them being wasted away for years, dumb pets.
Necroli.
What went wrong with Necroli? It starts from how they changed the character from Maji Ranger. In Sentai, Venkuria not only was a vampire, but also could split into two human-looking ladies. They were more foolish, kid-like characters. They get on your nerves when they popped up. I really didn't care for them that much. This stuff wasn't usable. Mystic Force didn't need to copy this, I'm not saying that. However, something had to replace this, or Necrolite was not going to be in the show much. It was made worse when they gave her a daughter that basically blocked her. I never understood why they did this. Why not have Necrolite turn human and just do what she made Lily do? To me, that would be easier. I don't want to change what the show did so much. I always like to try to keep as much in. They should have gone in the direction of why Necrolite turned. She can turn human. Why not use that? Use both of them. Even give them the ability to merge to make like a super Necrolite. It always felt out of place that Necrolite was evil, then she wasn't, then she was again. If Lily is half human, then Necrolite had to have fallen in love with a human at some point, so she had feelings for someone, but then goes back. She ultimately got convinced by Atasis when she reached that conclusion of humanity. But it would have been more interesting if Necrolite was the one who convinced Atasis to give a second thought about humans. Maybe the guy she fell in love with died, so she ended up hating humans again. Atasis could have asked more questions on feelings, both bouncing back between each other, till Necrolite realized what she was doing was wrong. They were trying to do that with Matumbo and Vita, but that didn't really work. We needed more of the human versus magic people problem. Necrolite could have naturally been that bridge. It felt like this was what they were trying to do, but because Nick taking priority, all these things got undeveloped.
Thrax.
Oh yeah, this guy. The intention of this story was to give fans a nice nod to the past. That's always commendable. While the problems are on Thrax himself, it's really how they went into doing him. So I'm going to try to fix this big issue with as many criticisms fans point out, why X and X doesn't work and so on. Okay, the first issue is Rita and Zedd having a child. I always thought this was fine. They did fall in love with each other for real without the dumb spell. So at any point they could have had Thrax. Now for the age complaint, if we're going by our perspective, 1995 to 2007 doesn't work. However, Thrax isn't human, so he could easily age faster for a number of reasons. Naturally fast aging from Zedd's side, that could be normal. He's from a species that has no skin and is pumping in chemicals. You could use that for an explanation. Or from Rita's side, him having some magical abilities allowing him to age differently. The biggest issue is Zordon's wave at the end of Countdown to Destruction. It's supposed to remove all the evil, which it did, but we have a problem with Thrax. There is an out here. Thrax had the ability to cut off the Overdrive team from the morphing grid. Well, that means he can manipulate it, most likely having the ability to enter it. So I see him doing just that. As he saw the Z-Wave head to him, he jumped into the grid so it passed, and he was left unaffected. Now for his motivations, he would have found out his mother and father were converted to being good forcefully. He wanted revenge on the next best thing since he couldn't kill Zordon. I would say he was like human age equivalent of 10 when Rita and Zedd changed, so it took him a few more years to grow up, but also hone his skills till he was ready to fight the Rangers in the future. Seeing the planet was being invaded by multiple villains, it was the perfect time for him to enlist help. I wanted it to be a personal grudge and maybe get you thinking, did Zordon do the right thing? His good action caused new evil to be born, keeping that endless cycle of good versus evil going.
Vipra.
In Lightspeed Rescue, Viper was the biggest issue I think everyone has. It was mainly due to the way Jennifer Yen portrayed the character. Princess Shayla fell under the same problem. Whenever I see an actor doing a performance that isn't working, the directors are at fault. You really don't blame the actor. Everything gets filtered through the director. This is what they wanted. The thing is, there's a fine line when it comes to corny. Power Rangers is corny. That's what it's done since day one, but there's different levels of corny. You just can't do anything you want. Viper crossed that line, but not just to focus on one thing, she also had story issues. Viper, of course, was there to allow the Princess Dennis footage. This character got very little use in Go-Go 5. She was there to help care for Throp as a baby, meaning she was basically background. So when Lightspeed came out, they had very little for her to do. Her character is a survivor. She only really cares to save herself when everything goes down the drain. That's the reason why she lasted into the Time Force team-up. I want to keep that. I want her to go into that conniving direction, just have her not mimic Captain Kirk pausing. One thing I always wanted her to do, infiltrate the Aqua base. She looks human. It would have been interesting if, say, the final 10 episodes have her doing subtle damage to the base, which helped everyone take over the Zords. That's what I didn't get with the Life Force Megazord. Maybe even kidnap Miss Fairweather. Without her, the team's more vulnerable. Plus, it explains how she vanished for a year without being caught by the Rangers.
Norg.
Not even Kelson Henderson could save Norg. The ice villains for Operation Overdrive were characters that PR created. They had to replace Gaja and Bokender. The interesting thing, Norg was solely made for Overdrive. There is no counterpart to him. Some of the problems don't even come from the character. I think Overdrive overcorrected. Bokender had funny episodes, the weirdest one being that Peach one, but most of the time it's played straight. When you have Dax, who got on a lot of people's nerves, and then we go to Norg, I just didn't want to see Flurious at all. He could be doing the most dramatic piece ever on camera. If Norg opens his mouth, I was done. His humor was way too juvenile. And you're listening to someone who likes Ninja Storm's comedy. I had no issues with Mara Capri and Lothar being stupid sometimes. Norg poisoned all scenes, even when he helped save Villa. He didn't work. He's pretty hard to fix because he has nothing really to him. I don't want to do something cliche like make Norg some secret evil monster. That's just lazy. The best thing you could do is something similar to what the Clone Wars show did with Jar Jar Binks. Pull back on the comedy, have strict limits, none of the Yogi Bearisms, if that's a word. Instead of his comedy crashing a scene, have Norg's comedy complement scenes. End on a dumb note, like he makes a stupid comment, but not something that has no connection, like him giving a Glorious an SUV out of nowhere. When you go into the land of kiddie comedy, even when PR is a kid's show, do you have respect for the character? Sometimes I even question writers. Did you write this joke in 5 minutes? Victor and Monty are hated because they cross too far past realism. Moderation is key with Norg-like characters. Yeah, but he's still not the worst comedic character.
Zeltrax.
Zeltrax was almost perfect. He shouldn't even be here, but Dino Thunder goofed up right at the character finish line. It was cool that Tommy had someone important outside of the Ranger circle. He obviously cared about Smitty. It was good that it wasn't Jason or something. Smitty screwed up, blamed him, wanted revenge. It was a different way in using the Sentai footage. All that was missing was the bond. Where did this all start? We're always told Tommy and Smitty were friends, then started fighting to the death in the show. But we don't see it. Without showing how they met or go into more detail on why Smitty turned, you just don't care. He would have been perfect to bridge Tommy going from race car driver potential to paleontologist. That's the one thing we don't buy. And it's not because Tommy's dumb, even though he forgets stuff all the time. He could have learned and got a PhD. They could have even name-dropped Trini as helping him. Smitty could have been the one who introduced Tommy to Haley. That way Haley could have gotten involved. If they had done this, I would have cared more about Zeltrax through the show. He's just a punching bag for Elsa by the end of it.
Elgar.
Where on earth do I begin with Elgar? If you wanted to know who I hate the most on PR, it's him. We've had Norg, we've had Rita, we got Squad and Babu. None of these guys compare on the stupidity level as Elgar. I want to know how they came up with him when Zelmoda is way more competent in Car Ranger. Why I hate him so much? He brings down everyone around him. When he shows this amount of stupidity, how has no one killed him or get himself killed? Why hasn't Divatox gotten rid of him? That's how bad he is. His stupidity infects everyone. Then when you see Car Ranger footage of him, he has a really evil looking face and comes up with plans. It's a complete disconnect. It's like when PR writers come up with PR villains, they default to making the Japanese characters stupid so it gives a reason for our stuff to exist. You don't have to do that. Elgar could have been similar to Zelmoda. He doesn't have to be scary like him. If Elgar is Divatox's family, have him work with her. Be second in command. Come up with some plans. He could have been the one who insisted on the detonator plots, like say it's the only thing he could do. He didn't want to let her down, which could have been why General Havoc was brought in. She finds out Elgar fails as a general. He vanishes in shame for some episodes as he tries to figure out ways to get himself together. He could have taken the Piratatrons, which is why Havoc brings the Robot Warriors in. Elgar then comes back and is the one who discovers the command center with the help of Shrinkasect. Have him fail, have him be stupid, but come around. I would have liked him way better if he was 50% less stupid.
Scorpina.
Oh, Scorpino, what was the point of bringing you back in Season 2 to never be seen again? What happened with that? I get it, more and more of the old characters weren't needed anymore. You couldn't use footage, but you still gotta give closure. If you wanted to know what MMPR failed at, it's closure and characters disappearing. In Zyuranger, Lamy was married to Griefoser. They had an ending. Of course, this is different in MMPR. I don't want this copied, but Scorpina needed at least a multi-part to end her run. She had this rivalry with Kim. They could have done something with that. I always wanted Scorpina to be the one that used Cat and came up with the whole Pink Ranger power stuff. Scorpina wanted to get rid of Kim, so she brainwashed Kat. Her goal was to steal the Pink Ranger powers either for gain or to destroy the power forever. It would still play out with Kim leaving and Kat feeling sorry for what she did, but Kim would be the one who kills off Scorpina. It would have been a good 2 versus 1 fight, win, and you get an ending for the character. I was so mad they filmed 1 episode of her coming back, then do nothing else. A total waste. There's more monsters out there. I might revisit this topic. What do you guys think? I personally wanted to get Thrax to work. There's so many issues with the guy. He deserved a second chance. Elgar was the motivation for me to do this one. This guy needed saving. If they ever redo Turbo like the 2017 PR movie, he needs to be overhauled. New episodes every Monday, fan commentary every Tuesday. For next week, people wanted my opinions on how I would rank all the Tommies from abilities to personality. I'll take a crack at it. Sorry about not including stills in the video. Due to past fair use abuses from the various companies involved, I no longer feature them. Thank you for understanding. See you in the next video.